So for my first video back, I decided to do one on the Dark Knight, the iconic rich man vigilante himself, the man who beats up the poor and kills clowns. Yes, it is Batman. But it wasn't always like this. Growing up in the 80s, this is how you'd remember Batman.
All around us is that deadly daily danger, traffic. I admire the way all you British children triumph over this danger by learning and using the road safety code.
Yes, teaching kids to cross the road. Ah, Batman, you're just a really huggable bear, aren't you? But there was some change coming in the winds. You see, we didn't have superhero franchises back then, but we had a feeling something was coming. There were some trailers, articles, discussions on TV about Michael Keaton taking up the role as Bruce Wayne and Jack Nicholson taking up the role as the Joker in a much darker, more violent take on the Dark Knight. And kind of my older contemporaries at the time would reference The Dark Knight Returns and other comics by artists and writers such as Frank Miller. And yeah, I didn't really take much note, but I was loving the toys and I really wanted to see the film. And being about 9 years old, it would probably be another year after its release or two before I actually got to see it. And the main way I got to experience it was through video games. So I thought I'd take a little look back, as Batman has had quite a few innings in video games history. Some have been really good, such as Arkham Asylum and the Arkham series. Some have been really, really bad, such as Batman Dark Tomorrow. This is a journey to find out which is the most kick-ass Batman game based on the 1989 movie. And this is my list, and it's based on my personal preference. There is not a lot between these games, but I will give my reasons as to why I chose them in the order I did. And if you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content, as I will now be making more content. I am back. Spoilers ahead for the video games and the 1989 movie.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Blind Man. I initially put this higher on the list, but although there are some sections of this game which are really playable and really fun, there are some parts of this game which are really, really, really irritating, and I can't seem to get past them. The graphics are pretty decent, and the sound, as in all the Sunsoft games based on the Batman movie, is amazing. The music is really, really cool. You start off in the streets of Gotham, and you're basically walking the streets punching people. That's great. But unless you literally get up into their face, and I mean literally right up into their face, and punch them, they just keep on coming. Look at this. You've literally got to be on the ball, and the hit detection is like literally minuscule, unless you use one of the batarangs, in which you have limited supply of. You only really seem to have batarangs as weapons, which is quite limited compared to the fact that this game came out after the Game Boy and the NES versions of the game. You then head to the chemical plant and the museum, and you eventually get to a Batmobile stage. Now these levels are quite fun, and there's bosses at the end. It follows the movie, but could we have a cutscene? Oh wait, hang on. Right, it's the first cutscene at the end of the museum level. Great, okay, fantastic. But there could be more to sort of bring the player along as to what's going on and why you're going through these different stages. There doesn't seem a lot apart from text that sort of ties all these different, set pieces together, and things do feel a little bit disjointed. Ultimately, this game has got its good bits. I like the platforming. The hit detection is normally pretty decent when it comes to the platforming. The use of the grappling hook is good. The Batmobile levels are pretty good. The Batwing levels are pretty good. It's not punishingly hard, although difficult in places. But this enemy respawn just completely ruins it for me. Ultimately, this is the worst of the Batman experiences, if you ask me. A lot of people who had Game Boys back in the day, it was the only console they could afford. But I tell you something, you were not underserved. There was some absolute bangers that came out on the Game Boy, and this is one of them. And the only reason it's number 4 on this list is basically because of the technical difficulties of the Game Boy. But Batman doesn't have a grappling hook. He doesn't really have an assault with the gadgets. What he does have is a gun. Now, normally I wouldn't approve of Batman with a gun. How often do you see Batman with a gun? But I kind of get it with the limitations of the hardware. You shoot projectiles at the enemies, and sometimes these projectiles will become batarangs, will become boomerangs, or different things that Batman can use to dispatch his enemies. You also can pick up various power-ups. Now, the level design is actually really good, and the same can be said for the sound design. As you're walking through the streets of Gotham, it does feel like you're walking through the streets. You're walking through streets, even if it's just drawn in black and white. When you're in the chemical plant, you're jumping over the different vats. Very similar to the Amiga game, very similar to the arcade game that we're going to mention a bit later, and very similar to the Mega Drive. This is something that really does take that little part from the movie, and you do have a good old fight with Jack Napier. And he just splats into the vat of chemicals just after he's run out of energy.
Jack is dead, my friend. You can call me Joker.
You do a nice Batwing stage, which is a bit like R-Type, so to speak. But overall, it's a really, really well controlled game, and really, really nice looking game for the Game Boy, and a real good sort of experience. And a lot of this is simple but effective. Overall, this is a pretty solid Batman game. The problem with this game is it's very, very clunky, and it feels like a collection of set pieces that don't really draw together, and memorable moments just seem to be thrown in there. This is the scene where Jack Napier gets killed. Jack is dead, Joker lives. Well, okay. Can't we have a cutscene, a picture or something? So then in the Batmobile, and you've got to use a grappling hook to go around corners. Can you imagine if you had to do that in real life? Literally sort of, as you go at 90 mile an hour down the motorway, you have to harpoon to go off the next exit. That's some dangerous driving, isn't it? Well, it's a good job Batman taught those kids how to cross the road. You certainly don't want to be crossing the road when he's driving. I thought he was over-exaggerating that traffic a little bit.
Remember, be smart, be safe. Always do your curb drill.
And why are we driving in the Batmobile? We're basically driving home. So then we're in the Batcave and we're mixing up chemicals for some reason. Now, obviously, we know, if you've watched the film, that the Joker was making poisons out of hair care products and soap and things, but that's just the thing, right? And that's my gripe with this game. If you have not seen the film, you have absolutely no idea what's going on. You've killed someone, basically used a harpoon to get your car back home, and now you're mixing chemicals in your meth lab.
It's really sad. And a tiny bit funny. Oh my god, I think I'm getting a contact high. No, I messed up too.
The next stage, you're basically controlling the Batwing. You've got to smash through the balloons and get a set number of balloons for the stage to end. And then it's on your way to the cathedral to fight the Joker. And you make your way up through the cathedral, ascending using your grappling hook. And wait, there's the Joker. And... oh, did he just kill himself? That was quick. As much as it looks good, and as much as there's some good ideas there and some bad ideas, Batman on the Amiga is pretty much a disjointed mess. But it's mostly a fun and enjoyable mess, and that's why it gets a number 3 spot. Now, this is the best looking and most faithful adaptation of the film. You start off in the streets of Gotham, and you beat the snot of a bunch of goons, declaring yourself as Batman as you go. I just feel a bit like Del Boy and Rodney here, just running through the streets. This is what these goons must think.
What's happening?
I have the faintest idea.
Napier's cleaning out Axe's chemicals.
You then basically get to your Batmobile, and it's an on-rail shooter. You basically shoot everything it moves. It's graphically impressive, but I'd actually say the Amiga is a bit better on this stage. It's a bit actually more impressive than the arcade game, which is quite something for, you know, if you take into account that these two games are like a year and a bit between each other. You reach access chemicals, and there's some action platforming. I love how ominous the vats of chemicals are, and you basically just, it feels like you're hunting Jack Napier down because you know what's coming. It's like, come on Jack, come on, get into the vat Jack, come on. You basically fight him and punch him off the edge.
Wait till they get a load of me.
What this game, I think, had, which was way ahead of its time, is, yes, you get some cutscenes, first of all, but a lot of the action actually takes place within the game. As you're going through the art museum, for example, at the end, you rescue Vicky Vale, you fight the Joker, you have a confrontation with the Joker. As you're going through the streets of Gotham, you basically, you can see like the different sort of, is it a theatre, or is it there's different elements to the streets of Gotham. As you're taking down the Joker's balloons in the Batwing, you can hear him say, "Where's my balloons?" You know, it actually, a lot of the game is unfolding as you play it, and this is really, really good.
They stole my balloon!
So the game reaches its end point as you again get to the cathedral. But again, what I like about this is you fight the Joker several times. There's a bit of an ongoing confrontation. It kind of mimics the movie, and eventually, you know, it's basically a beat 'em up to get the Joker to ring out to fall off to his doom. But really, they tried things in this game which worked really, really well, and I think the fact that it's the arcade game is the only thing stopping it from getting number 1 spot, because it wasn't as readily available as a lot of the others on this list. Number 1 is Batman on the NES. Why have I chosen the NES as number 1? Well, it just happens to be my favourite. And to be honest with you, it's the one that follows the plot of the movie the least. and it actually works to its advantage. All you basically need to know is you're Batman and you're hunting down the Joker because the Joker's been up to stuff. And the Joker's sent several goons or several traps ahead for you to get past before you actually fight him at the end of the game. And he taunts you in between levels. You actually get cutscenes with the NES, and they're pretty goddamn good. They're not graphically impressive, but they do the job. And I like how this game flows. It doesn't give you a variety of things to do, as in like shooting stages or stages of the Batmobile or Batwing. What it does is it focuses on what it's doing, and it does it well. It is a really good action platformer. The platforming is spot on. The wall jumping mechanic just makes you feel that a little bit more like Batman. The range of gadgets, I know it's about 4 or 5 gadgets you have that actually are really, really useful, and you've got to think about what gadget to use to take down what enemies. You know, how much do you conserve, how much can you use. The game is difficult. It's punishingly difficult. However, it's not cheap. When I died in the game, or when I found it hard to get past a certain point of the game, I wanted to keep coming back. I wanted to push myself so I could be more confident, to improve my skills at the game. I had a very good relationship with this game. If I died, there's always something I could have done better. The levels do kind of follow the film. You start out in the streets of Gotham, then you go to the chemical plant, but this time you end up in the sewers and through some laboratory and eventually at the cathedral. But it doesn't matter, because as you go in through each one, the Joker is taunting you, and you eventually go face to face with him, and this Batman does not fuck about.
Hey, Bat Brain, I mean, I was a kid when I killed your parents. I mean, I say I made you, you gotta say you made me. And how childish can you get, huh? You wouldn't hit a guy with glasses on, would you? Huh?
This Batman doesn't give a shit. He's out for blood. He grabs the Joker by the scruff of the neck, says, "Hey, bitch, you killed my parents, you were going down," and literally choke slams that son of a bitch straight to hell. Batman 89 on the NES is not just a good all-round Batman game, it is a classic NES game as far as I'm concerned, and it's one that I have really, really fond memories of. What were your favourite Batman games? Let me know in the comment section below. How would you rank these 5 games? Is there a Batman 89 game I've missed on a platform that I haven't played, for example? I know there's a DOS and Atari ST version, but I know they're very, very similar to the Amiga versions. If there is, let me know in the comment section below. And I'll see you soon, guys, for another video. This has been Jared for Blind Man Plays. Take care of yourselves. Love you all. Bye.